Welcome, one and all, to the grim dark future of Darktide. And this is an anti-guide. This is not about the meta of how to play on the highest difficulty with the best weapons. This is for all of you who are saying, no, battle. I'm level 1. I barely have a latrine shovel to my name. What do I do? Well, my son, I present to you this simple truth. You should go and have fun. Because you're never going to be a top player in this game unless you have fun. Because you're never going to arrive at the top level unless you get to level 30, which means a lot of missions where you don't have the top weapons, you don't have all the feats, and you don't have the coolest weapons. So the important thing is to have fun while you're going, and more importantly, what if you're in quick play hell? See, the weapon I have now, the shield and the mace, this is supposed to be the god tier weapon for Ogryns going into the higher levels. And I mean, it does pretty good damage. You can wade through hordes with this and all that stuff, but it is kind of slow too. And it's not actually ideal against the unarmored targets, but I have this at a lowish difficulty and then pretty much rolling through these guys. But you start using the heavy attacks and it's pretty slow. And here's the thing. If you have your shield like this, or you have it like this, and then nothing's getting through, what's happening? Well, on the top level in an organized team, everything around you is dying because your competent, well-armed teammates are killing everything. Yeah, that's not happening on the lower levels. It's not happening in quick play. It's not happening with people maybe on voice comms, probably not. It's not happening because they're not experienced enough in the game to actually do that, and they don't have the weapons at the levels that they need to get them. So what do? Well, we're going to ditch this weapon for other ones, and I'll go through what I was using at the start, because I still have it all. I have everything I was using from the the Bully Club that you get from the very beginning. So let's do that for a second. The Bully Club. And here's a Maniac, and I can beat it around a little bit, but you have the charge attacks, which do a hell of a lot more damage, and I have a this is a feat that inflicts bleed from the heavy attacks, which is, good, but you don't actually see this in the actual game. You don't see the numbers. So you see that it has a lot of stagger, and then you have the pushes. And by the way, this is blocking and then pressing the attack button. You push. This is a basic Vermintide game skill, but not everybody played Vermintide. So, if you didn't, now you know. And it also has the special button. And in this case, it's a slap. It's not a punch. It's a slap. It's an area of effect stagger. It has, a long time before you actually get to your club back up. But that third attack there is actually quite powerful. And it's powerful against armored targets as well. So when you want one thing to go down accurately and decisively, you hold that attack button and you do the heavy attack. And that's basically the Bully Club. The thing is that, let's see here. So you can do that to an unarmored guy, but the club also does, you see the first two attacks do basically nothing, and then the third does like 147. And then you do the heavy attacks, and they go like, well, I missed the second one. But... And then the guy goes down. That's the Bully Club. So I'm giving you a bit of a rundown over the sorts of weapons that you can use and where they come up. The next weapon I had was this Profane rank Cleaver. And here's another thing that I want to show you right at the start here. And that is... can't show it from this one. Okay. Here. You can press the key or you can just click with the mouse. Inspect. So it gives you this. Then tab. View attack breakdowns. Oh, look here! Stats. The game doesn't tell you what each attack does? Rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. It tells you in great detail here. So this means that the first, well, all the light attacks are strike down, powerful attacks targeting one enemy. However, it has a cleaving strike attribute here, which means that even though that it's supposedly going to be targeting one enemy, it can actually go through multiple ones. And then the heavy attacks are actually wide area attacks. And there is a special action that is a punch, which is a high stagger. And you see that the second numbers are actually the stagger. This is the actual damage, but this is the stagger. So compared to, see, 103 damage, 7 stagger. Special action. 37 damage, 45 stagger. That's a lot of stagger. But not much on maniacs, because they're crazy. So let's see how this works. I'll pick you. Whoa, that's a lot faster, isn't it? I mean, it's not lightning speed, but compared to the Bully Club, I mean, it's still kind of fast. Oh, I'm not doing very much to this guy. Maybe I should do the heavy attacks like that. It's still not very good at doing big damage on them. That's because it's an early weapon. But you see these guys just cleaving through them. And I got 2 of them at one time there. Now if I push these guys a little bit closer together, and you see how I pushed all these guys? Well, because I'm an Ogryn. See? It did some damage to the guy behind. Cool. Now, did it do a ton? No, it did not. But then you do this attack, and it actually does a lot in the area. So there's basically, what do you call this with other games and situations? You'd probably call it bleed through. So that's a normal cleaver. But there's another version of cleaver. The Bull Butcher cleaver. Now, what does this do, you may wonder? Let's see. These are the charge attacks, and... Okay, that's a bit more beefy looking. Let's try you on an armored guy. Because I can just, nothing. Oh, that's actually giving me some higher damage. I mean, it's not great, but, it actually does something. And also, I can do this, but it's not actually doing much damage, but the attack speed is much faster. Did you know that? Your attack speed goes up after you use your F ability as Ogryn. Flak armored. But let's try something else. Wait, what's going on here? I just massacred these guys. Well, let's show this guy, but, I can at least try to do this with... Okay, that's good enough. And these maniacs, if I just, that's not so bad. But yeah, this first one, okay, let's try this, and I broke out of my charge by attacking, so I control the range of it. So let's say that there are about 100 more of these guys, and I'm going like this through them. I'm going to just massacre these guys, aren't I? I'm going to just massacre these guys all day long. Me alone, if it was against 100, 200, 300 of these guys, I wouldn't have anything to worry about. It wouldn't even need the team, just me at a choke point. See? That's actually very important. Because that is an alternative playstyle for the Ogre. You don't have to be the shield bearer. But more to the point, if you're playing with 2 psychers and 1 sharpshooter, you probably want something like this. They can deal with the big armored guys. Like, well, here not from the front, because the front, they'll just block everything, but even from the back. There we go. Finish them off. The point is that if the rest of the team has great single target damage, this is all you need to completely decimate normal hordes. And they'll just die. just aim roughly at the head, which is, for an Ogryn about navel height, and you've completely solved one problem. Only in one direction, mind you, but you've solved one problem completely. What else did we have here? Well, I started to get into the shields, and I didn't have a good time. And that's the thing. You can have a decent time with it, certainly, but yeah, you have things like this and they clear stuff out in the area. But what you really benefit for this is just look at the stagger. You're just ragdolling these guys. And it's not like this bad doing stuff like that. And even with the regular attacks like this, I mean, let me go over to where the crusher is. Oh, how do you get over there? See, even with just the regular attack there, I'm really beating this guy up. And that's because that the armor penetration on the basic attacks is actually pretty good. Looks like that the bleeding is actually... Okay, the bleeding was a lot less on this guy, but it was actually pretty significant. So in terms of DPS, it's a lot better to just beat on the guy with the light attacks, because whatever disadvantages these light attacks up against, unarmored targets, like the Maniac. But anyway, you've got stagger for days, and you still have pushes, and you still have the complete defense here. No stamina will go down when you have this up, and your toughness will recover while you have this up. But if other people aren't killing things, then you're just buying time. And that's what I mean. The key to playing the Ogryn is that you can do a little bit of everything, but you can't do everything by yourself. Now, one thing I want you to consider, and this isn't even my best version of it, this is the Bully Club at a somewhat higher level. You see that it's firing, well, swinging a lot faster. That third one is really good at single target damage, even though that the Maniac is one of the worst guys to go after like this. Okay, here's a tech. Swing, swing, block, push. Push is optional. Swing, swing, block. Swing, swing. These are anti-horde swings. They are not armor piercing, but considering that the swings are not like that bull cleaver, they're not nearly as fast, you're still doing pretty darn good. It's a very flexible weapon. It just lacks the shield. But you also have great visibility. You also have the slap there. But you see how wonderfully that it goes after these armored targets like that. Very simple, but very important. If nobody else is in a position to take down maulers and crushers, it's your job. Latrine shovel. And I want to show this off because this is a compromised weapon. Punch. 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 Swing. This is like... It's like a knife, but it's blunt. But you can do this, like a mace, almost. I'm doing decent damage, even though that's armored. But of course, this is better. And I get lots of staggering. So it's not the best killing weapon. It's not the best staggering weapon. It's not the best anti-armor weapon. It's not the best anti-horde weapon. But it's kind of in the middle. And aside from, not having the shield, it's pretty darn good. So those are your basic melee... Well, I mean, it's basically all your melee options. You do have different sorts of cleavers to a point, but... well, I think you really just have... Oh yeah, there's the Mark 6 and a Mark 4 cleaver, but I'm not even remembering... What's even the difference? Ah, that's right. They're just a difference in attack pattern. So just show this one more thing. So this is just with the heavy attack. So you see that, I think I showed this one already. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to go to the firearms. And the basic one that you start with is the kickback, which is, very simply, a shotgun. Look at that. And it takes quite a while to reload, but look at that. I mean, it's not, insane spread, but look at that single line horde clearing potential. But of course, like I said, single line. Now, that's still quite a bit of damage, even though that's an armored target. And I even put the crusher down on his butt. By the way, it doesn't matter where you're hitting. You will not damage this guy through the shield. Oh, and also specials can have like stuff like that bash. So I'm doing basically nothing to this guy. Okay, I did there with a body hit. What other options are there? Oh yeah, let me just go to the latest one that I've had. This was an Emperor's gift. Thank you, Emperor. Ripper gun. Ripper gun. Ripper gun. Ripper guns are very flexible. Look at that reload speed. Of course, this is a gold one, but yeah, you can also do fully automatic with like this, but you look at the recoil, it's a lot. And then you can do the stab. Okay, I got a bleed effect. I don't know if I'd have that if not for the Ogryn perks, but you know, this is good at taking down single specials. Like here's the Rager here, the Maniac. Look at that. So this is for teams where you are very nervous about everybody else's ability to take down a critical enemy like a Poxburster, possibly a Hound, but with a Hound you'd mostly want to do stuff like, pushing it or doing a counter charge to put it on its butt, things like that. But you just want to be able to take one thing down really fast. And yeah, it's not going to do anything to the Crusher. You need something else for that. What else is in our arsenal? Yes, I'll start with, this was a very early one, and it's carried me for a long way. The Grenadier Gauntlet. Now, this has a melee mode of attack, and you can do light attacks, heavy attacks, but that's its special. That's its special. That's its special. Have you seen anything cooler in this game yet? Well, okay, there's a lot of cool things in this game. This is pretty cool. But also you have the holding the right mouse button and then aiming, and then you can do stuff like that. You see that the armor pen is, it's got armor pen, but this move, it's got a pretty decent amount of it. If you have literally nothing for armor penetration except the Grenadier Gauntlet, and you get those moves in, it's pretty decent. This is a very, very early version. Also, you can fire these grenades pretty distant. Look at that. So even though that's, the knockdown effect has a pretty wide radius, but the damage is not really very impressive. But if you do this, let's find a better pack of them. Yeah, here, you'll do. It's at least killing in a greater radius, but I mean, the knockdown is pretty formidable. So you can't rely on this for mass area effect damage or anything like that, but you want one thing dead pronto. I choose you. It's a generalist weapon in a way, but it's a good generalist weapon. And more importantly, didn't that look fun? They have different kinds of Ripper guns. And this is the earliest one that I had. Actually can't fire it more than 3 times, even in the stabilized mode. Here it's just a double tap. There's nothing bad about this thing. That was a Mark 6. Let's try Mark 2. So you see, this is the thing. You can have really quick damage against something that's very particular that you want dead in the here and now. Let's crouch because you're an Ogryn. Gives you different firing angles. So you don't have huge amounts of ammo, but what you want dead gets dead. And that can be an extremely valuable thing, if not for your team, then for yourself. There's a trapper that nobody else sees that's right in front of you. You kill it with the Ripper gun, you've saved yourself, you've probably saved half your kill. Something like that. That does basically nothing to the big guy there. So you see, you want stuff dead, you get it dead. Now, there's also the Rumbler, which I have not messed with too much because it's not the greatest damage. But, now you see there, before the delayed detonation, see, it threw the guy all sorts of space there, and then let's try this. This should be a better illustration. So you see, it actually does have a fairly impressive blast radius of its sorts. But, I mean, the raw damage, is that really what you want? That's why that I hesitate to call this a go-to weapon, because even though that the reloads are, well, of this one, it's way better than the kickback that I had at the start, but yes, it does damage, but it's not really great. Now, you can't rely on a stubber, a heavy stubber, for going after the crushers either. You just can't. I mean, you can get some damage in, but... Oh, and I'll show you what I mean. If I fire like this, I'm still not going to inflict any damage, even if I can shoot the foot. It's not going to help. See how fast that guy went down? I know this is a somewhat high-level version, but still. 3 rounds left, and look what I did to that guy. Now, if I do it in controlled burst, and yes, it's a very long reload, but look at that pass-through. And I can also do this for a much more stabilized version. And with certain things, you really want it to be like this. It's not very good at long range like that, but you can get lucky. So this is something that just passes through hordes. It's not, I mean, they're so short like that, you almost have to crouch to do this, but it went 3 people, just like that. You have lots of ammunition. You don't run out that easily. You can, as soon as the number goes up, you can do that sort of thing. It's actually a pretty decent bash. So apparently that does count as a heavy attack because I get the bleed effect on it, and that's from heavy attacks on the Ogryn for the feat that I have chosen for it. So you see that there's a sort of long delay, but the stabilization is much better. And the last thing I want to really show is the grenade box. And I don't have the special feat for it, but now this will do nothing except knock them down like that because of the shield. It will only do that to the crusher. Yeah. Look at the Reaper. Ah, okay. That's interesting. I've seen them actually go down completely from it. Maybe they changed that in the last patch for alignment. But I mean, this is a lot of damage. It's just to show you what can happen. Mileage will vary. The point is just showing you all this stuff. What you have are a mix of options. You don't have to play the Ogryn just the shield. You don't have to play him just the heavy stubber. And that's because of a whole bunch of things. But basically, the sharpshooter should be annihilating guys like this. The psyker should be annihilating guys like this, making their heads pop off. The psyker should be ravaging the crushers and the reapers and whatever like that. But what are they going to do about the hordes? The Ogryn can help with basically everything, on top of faster revives, extra stagger to enemies, and they carry stuff really well, even if it's really heavy. But they cannot do everything, and they cannot do everything themselves. They're really vulnerable to trappers because they're big. But the point is, they can help with virtually everything. It's just a matter of preference and feel and what you want to do and how you want to have fun. Because, yes, you can design things in a certain way. And I mean, if I have this for hordes, do I really want a knife? Or do I want a bully club to deal with the heavily armored guys? Because this won't help with the armored guys at all. It will not do anything to them. It's great for hordes. It will not do anything to armor. At all. But it can do this to some people. I mean, that's, just the flak armor, but you put enough bullets into them, it'll get them down. The Ripper gun is a great compromise for that. It's not going to, kill hundreds of mooks, but it's going to take down the special ones that you actually want dead in a hurry. So, by showing this, the main thing is, it's not just a matter of doing this, it's not just a matter of, going into the weapon selection and inspecting the stuff yourself, although that's very important. It's about feel. It's about feeling your way through it, the zen of weapon selection, finding what works for you, because there's all sorts of variety. There's all sorts of quirks. There's all sorts of details to go through, but ultimately, it's what does something feel good? Does something feel good to your mind? Because it's not just a matter of practicality. It's a matter of, are you having fun with it? in the game itself, where you have to ask a weapon to do all sorts of different things for you. Is it doing what you need it to do? Is it doing what you need it to do for your team or for just yourself? And that will vary. There is no one rule to it. So don't pretend that there is. It's not just about the meta, it's about what's going to help you when you have a disorganized team in quick play that doesn't know how to shoot straight. You might need to not just save your teammate's life, but also your own by taking down that special. Do you have a Ripper gun? Do you have a Grenadier Gauntlet? Can you do the special with it at point blank range and look really cool? You decide. But most importantly, have fun, because that's what matters. This has been Off to Battle. Take care, enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you in the grim dark future. It may be grim and dark, but it has a bright future. A bright future indeed.